what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all. This is the One-on-One Sports Show. Um, we have Ronan here today. He's filling in for Dante. He got some family business going on, so good to have you, Ronan. Appreciate you for filling in for him.
Oh, that's what's up, man. Good to meet you, man.
Same here, same here. So we just want to kick it off. Pretty much had a fairly busy week this past week in sports. We all know about the NBA sports, the NBA playoffs going on,
Mhm.
and then also I wanted to get into the new contract that Jalen Hurts recently signed because it's kind of like some ripple effect to his contract, and then also it was with his with the involved parties, particularly on his side, it was some major news going on that, so definitely want to highlight on that one.
Okay.
But for to get things started, let's kick it off with these NBA playoffs. I'm trying to look at my little notes. So we got currently right now is the Lakers and the Grizzlies playing. I
Mhm.
got to hear score of that one, but we all know currently. Let me pull up my standings. Just give a rundown on the current playoff picture right now. Well, damn.
With the Grizzlies and Lakers, Grizzlies up 30-19. So it's the end of the
I was
first.
just looking at that. They
Yeah,
doing all this without Ja.
yeah. But we're gonna see how long that lasts, because we're gonna see.
Right now, them boys are just they pumped up on that Mountain Dew. We see how long that thing lasts until that stuff wears off and reality checks in. I
Yeah.
know if the Lakers lose this game, you will never hear the end of it.
No, but again, it's like they got one out of there. So the whole thing is like they got the split. They can go home.
Hmm.
They can be up 3-1, depending.
Yeah. All you need for that road team is to get that one on the road,
Yeah.
so you can take away home court. But as of now, um, man, well, I know the Clippers series from last night that is tied 1-1.
Mhm.
You got the Denver Minnesota. I believe they play. Do they play
Tonight.
tonight?
I think they play
So
tonight.
yeah, game two will be tonight. So currently Denver's up one on that one. Milwaukee, Miami, they play today also.
Mhm.
Giannis, I just got news that he will be out. He's officially out.
Yeah, I think it's lower back.
Yeah.
Oof.
There was one
Interesting.
more series. But yeah,
Interesting
how
week.
do you feel about the playoffs so far?
Very interesting. Very educational. I'll say that much. Um, as far as the Golden State and Kings
Yeah,
playoff,
yeah.
uh, you had one political situation because but again, Draymond did do it to himself because he does have a history of some questionable shit. But
Mhm.
still, that might be costly because if the Kings still won in Golden State tomorrow, yeah, you can hang it up. You can just hang it up.
So you'll think I have no idea what is wrong with the Warriors as far as on the road, and I know throughout the whole season you kept having people, people kept saying like they're gonna turn it on, flip the switch, and apparently that switch, usually that switch relates to defense.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can really just flip. You always hear about the make and miss league as far as the offensive side of the ball, but the defense is the one that you could put more intensity in, like that. But you know, they're one of their main defenders. He was gone for the majority of the second half of the season.
Mhm.
Wiggins,
Yeah.
he came back. He's getting back into the fold faster than believe when he first came back. He missed such a big chunk of the season,
Yeah.
but still, I'm surprised by the Kings defense on the Warriors because they really didn't. They was not a defensive team. They was an offensive team. They could keep up with you scoring, but
Mhm.
they've been playing pretty good defense on the Warriors to obviously be up 0-2, 2-0 really. But the
Mhm.
big news out that game, of course, is the Draymond Green, which you alluded to a few seconds ago, and yes, I do believe that Green ejection was one of the main reasons why the Warriors lost game two. So it was going back. I want to say it wasn't going back and forth, but the Warriors was making the run, and
Yeah,
then
they're down by 6.
yeah, and he's such a important piece to that team.
Yeah.
That's why it's going to be interesting to see how they be in Game 3 because even though they play at home, typically the role players play better at home,
Mm.
but they nobody on that team moves the ball like Draymond.
No.
They play off of him, and Draymond's the one who's literally getting everybody in their spots and directing teammates. So mainly that Steph and Clay can ultimately end up getting these open threes and stuff, how they move about the ball and all that. So it's gonna be interesting in Game 3. I'm trying to picture somebody now on there, unless you just have a big game from Jordan Poole. You just have
But
to offset it.
that's still asking a lot.
He need to live up to that contract he got.
Well, yeah, we know that. You and I both know that. But when you look at it too, Mike Brown, he's always been a defensive minded type of coach. So he's kind of like, the West Coast version of Thibodeau. So that's why they've been locking him down. They haven't been able to get to their spots freely, and they've been fighting for every inch. So that's why they get basically gassed at the end. Start and the thing is too, they're lucky the Kings haven't been hitting their shots from deep. Otherwise, it would have been even been much worse.
They was hit. It looked like towards the end of Game 2 they started hitting their shots.
Yeah, they started to tune up. So if they start doing that like at the end of Game 2, yeah, it's gonna be a problem, especially getting blown at home.
Now, if the Warriors win Game 3 without having one of their key pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and say they'll win Game 4 because if they win Game 3, it's obviously that home court because they play so much better at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna imagine Game 4 when they have the full roster, it'll be the same thing. If they go back to sack tied 2-2, then I think it's a completely different series. I think right now Sacramento is rolling on that high, and they need to take advantage of it right now because they go back tied 2-2. Yeah, Sacramento, you still have home court advantage, but sometimes with the Warriors, all it takes for them to just get that win and get their gears moving, and then you start seeing more of Clay shots going in, Jordan Poole shots going in, just stuff like that. You just basically waking up a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
Now I guess it's still on the same page as that, flipping that switch, I guess. But you from just watching that team in the past, once that offense gets going, it wakes up and it gets going. So that's the only thing I could see if they could tie this series up during their current homestand. Thank goodness they don't have that 2-3-2 format anymore.
No.
So if they could tie it up, take it back to Sacramento tied 2-2, I think it'll be a completely different series, even though the Kings have home court advantage.
Yeah, we say flip that switch. You got to pay the bill first. And I ain't been seeing that, and they've been a terrible road team.
I don't know why. I have no idea why.
I don't know what it is either. Maybe it's the championship hangover. I mean, there's a part of that. I mean, who knows? But with their record now, especially if they're playing bad on the road and they go back to Sacktown, yeah, you can hang it up. Mm-hmm. They'll be a tough out, but yeah, you can hang it up.
So what do you think of that Draymond suspension?
I think it's a bit much because I mean, he stomped on the dude's ribs and everything, but this is the playoffs. And it's like just like it happened back in 2016, this changed everything. So now they got to make the adjustment. Like you said, you're asking a lot for Jordan Poole or somebody else to step up. What if they don't?
I was Joe Dumars, who ultimately ended up handing down the suspension to Draymond. He was on the earlier episode of NBA Countdown earlier today, and they was interviewing him. And him and Draymond, they have a relationship with each other. They call each other even, so they cool with each other.
Yeah.
And he was saying that it was literally past damn the midnight hour or somewhere in there where they finally, everybody came to conclusion, okay, let's suspend Draymond for Game 3. They was going back and forth about what they should do. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he said they didn't even speak to Draymond until after the suspension was handed out. And he actually called Draymond. He was saying Draymond, of course, yeah, he didn't agree with the suspension and he was against it and whatnot.
Mm.
But my personal belief, like you mentioned before, Draymond brought it on himself because Joe Dumars was saying that they was looking at his past, you know, past instances when he was getting involved in stuff like this. Of course, everybody, remember the one against the Cavs in 2016.
Mm.
But also, if you remember that incident that he had with Steven Adams,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, he kicked him in the groin. I forgot he was going up. I forgot what it was. It's like somehow he finds himself
Mm.
in these situations. Dude plays hard. If I was a teammate, I would love to have him on my team.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know how he finds himself in these situations. Um, and you see people because I believe that okay, you ejected him for game two, which obviously proved to be a huge ejection because it ultimately cost the Warriors the game.
Mm.
Okay, then it's like you kind of add on with the game three suspension. So I
Well,
was like, I don't think he should have been doing that.
well, you think about it too. It's like you always be mindful of who's watching what you do. And that night, the commissioner was in the attendance,
Hmm.
so we started seeing him do that little rally towel shit, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay." So,
Revving up them Kings fans, and yeah, that whole thing pretty much determined. I guess that probably was the extra piece that kept them going until like damn near midnight to determine if they're going to suspend him.
yeah,
Maybe if he didn't do that, they said because of how how he was going against the crowd when he was leaving the court, um, the post game interview, he wasn't really showing no signs of
yeah,
remorse or whatnot. He was just defiant for the most part.
right,
Like you said, they look at the whole picture. And I agree, Kendrick Perkins during that episode, I agree with one recommendation he did. Like, if you find yourself kind of unsure of suspending a player, especially in the playoffs, because it can just be a huge swing, to the opposing team.
mm-hmm.
Just suspend them for the next season. I think Major League Baseball
Like
did something
carryover,
like that.
like
Yeah, I think Major League Baseball. I forgot what it was, but something happened, and they didn't want to suspend them during the postseason because they knew it was going to be a huge advantage or
mm,
disadvantage. So they suspended them, the first several games of the next season, which works.
yeah,
You're not, he's still going to be suspended, and you're not in the playoffs. It's just different, man, because you could literally just basically send somebody home because that one player is missing. So I was like, that would have been a good idea, but like, it all come back down to it. Draymond, unfortunately he brought it on himself.
yeah, true. I still think it was a little political, but yeah, he didn't help himself that
Yeah.
night. But that's kind of like you talking shit about the supervisor, and you sitting there, and he catch your ass in the lunchroom doing it. Okay, I got you.
you can't complain about the punishment then. So keep your
Yeah,
mouth shut.
like all right,
And then we got these other huge playoff injuries. You got Giannis, who we mentioned before, he's going to be out. Ja is out today. Tyler Hero,
yeah,
um,
he's gonna be out
he's been ruled out.
probably for the majority of playoffs, if not the whole playoffs.
That's right. He got a broken,
Broken hand.
yeah. So I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. So someone's going to take his place. You might see playoff Jimmy make a sighting. I don't know.
That's going to be a huge blow to the Heat. But with the Bucks and the Grizzlies, two of their best players on each respective team is going to be out.
Yeah,
So that could definitely be huge. I think the Bucks. I think Giannis will for sure be back before Ja, and I think the Bucks will still hang with the Heat even without Giannis.
yeah,
Chris Middleton, because I think Drew Holiday is he's proved to be very very beneficial to them, and then Chris Middleton just need to rewind that clock before his injury,
yeah,
and then them two should be because they have a good enough team. They should be able to win a game versus the Heat?
Yeah, if I had to be honest, I think it might be the Bucks in 6. Might be.
Yeah,
I could see that.
because the Heat I just don't think the Heat have all the weapons. Yeah, they have Butler, but Butler and Middleton, I think they should be able to cancel each other out.
Yeah.
And then you look at the next list because I don't think they really get anything from Kyle Lowry.
No.
And then so it's just like Kyle Lowry versus Drew Holiday. Obvious advantage is Holiday.
Yeah.
You got Brooke Lopez versus Bam Adebayo. I give Bam the advantage on that.
Yeah. He's more moving.
And that's who I think who's probably who's going to step up big, even bigger than Jimmy is
Yeah.
Adebayo. I think he's going to step up real big. I'm still waiting to see how Kevin Love really fits in with the Heat. Cause for once, he hasn't been like the biggest. He hasn't had the impact for the Heat as Holiday when Holiday was first traded to the Bucks. That's ultimately what led them to the championship.
Right.
And Holiday's presence with the Bucks was immediately felt.
Mm-hmm.
Love has not. It's like he's still trying to get himself in the rhythm in Miami. I don't know how that is, but Miami has. Now I think they have the weapons, but they have to all of a sudden show up.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Miami. That's how they got in that play-in last spot because they can just kind of be inconsistent at times.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a little bit shit. You never know what you're gonna get each game with them for some reason. Because the way Chicago was playing, I thought they was gonna get it, but then they ran the Miami on a good night. So, hey.
Do you think who I heard that Chris Russo, Mad Dog, he brought up a point. Do you think the Heat is somehow needing a new voice in the locker room besides Spoelstra?
Does Haslam?
Not with Eric Spoelstra, because they it's almost kind of like they plateaued. I know they made the finals during the bubble.
Yeah.
But they kind of like plateaued a little bit.
Yeah, they made a finals in the bubble. Then they made the Eastern Conference Finals. They got beat by Boston in Game 7 last year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so, because Udonis, he was always like that. I guess the OG in the locker room, but now he's getting ready to leave. I think they do need a new voice. I think so.
It's kind of I guess ridiculous. I'm even thinking about it because you remember Spoelstra was voted as one of the 15 all-time greatest coaches. So the dude can obviously coach. He's a great coach. But just like how, other coaches who was on there, Doc Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of some more coaches who were on that list, but sometimes a team, and I'm not saying because I think he could still ultimately coach a team to the finals. It's just, but sometimes even great head coaches, their voice will have a tendency to kind of get lost in the locker room somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess it remains to be seen about Spoelstra. It was just interesting when I heard Mad Dog bring it up. I'm like, yeah, he has been there. He's still young, but he's been with Miami for a long time.
Yeah.
And you see it happen. The most obvious example is Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
And he also one of the 15 greatest head coaches that was voted. And, he let go in Boston, let go really in known for with the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
And he was gonna I believe he mentioned after he let go by the Clippers, he was gonna actually take a year off before the Sixers came knocking on his door.
Right.
So it happens even to the greatest coaches that sometimes their voice just kind of the volume gets turned down a little bit. But it's interesting. They still in this. It's going to be key to see how they perform versus the Bucks, especially without Giannis there. So
right. Yeah, but I definitely pick the Bucks in 6.
So you got the Bucks in 6. Yeah, we might as well go down the road. So I'm going for the East. So you got the Now, one series I do like is that Knicks and Cavs series.
Oh yeah, that's
They
going.
just, even though the Cavs kind of blew, well, they beat them by 20 yesterday, right? Somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
yeah,
But that is, I know you hear a whole lot of people because I'm in the DFW area, and oh man, the noise is loud with the whole Jalen Brunson.
yeah.
And I saw some comments today on the internet about the Mavs could have avoided this. They could have got this for cheaper, but before he ultimately moved on to New York. And if I can remember, because Brunson he didn't have a season. His last season with Dallas last year was his breakout season.
Yeah.
He was just another dude on the team, and so he's still trying to evaluate. Hey, tradable piece and whatnot, and then of course his game started showing improvement last season, and he was working well with Luca. And then we all know when Luca was out for I think a game against Phoenix last year for an injury,
Yeah.
Bronson led them to a victory. And so I'm seeing comments online with saying that the Mavs should have offered. They should have. They had a chance to get Bronson on the cheap. They should have offered him an extension before basically the end of the season.
All right.
And I was like, to me, it's kind of like a 2020 hindsight type thing that you'll. Cause the real breaking point with that was the Knicks ultimately hired his dad onto the staff. Bronson is already a New York. He's from that New York, New Jersey area.
All right.
So I'm like, yeah, I guess it's easier to say that the Mavs could have had him cheaper
Mm-hmm.
now, 2020 hindsight, but I don't remember a lot of people. I'm trying to think about the radio station stuff. Was really wanting to re-sign Bronson that early. They were still in that wait and see. Then by the time the playoffs came and you kind of saw what you had with Brunson, oh, it's too late.
Yeah.
You saw what you had in Brunson. Brunson saw what he had in Brunson, and he
Yeah.
knew he had money around the corner. It's like, so So I don't know, but I know here in DFW, I mean, he's over here basically. He's a he was an all-star snub,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing his things. And why? Meanwhile, Dallas they went from the Western Conference Finals last year to totally missing the playoffs this year.
I mean, they still had like trash interior defense.
When
If
they
they had
traded for
defense,
Kyrie.
so you just basically run through open gate half the time. I wouldn't even put it on Kyrie much. I mean, that he did pretty good as far as like his first season there, but still, if you're not playing defense, what's the point?
Yeah, he Kyrie did what he was brought there to do.
Mm.
It's just when they traded for him, they got rid of all of their wings and defenders.
Yeah.
So they sacrificed their defense for Kyrie. So yeah, you had offense,
Mm.
but like you said, their defense was just shot.
Yeah,
And
that's
I believe at the time, I don't think Jason Kidd was 100% gung ho about the trade.
mm.
Not really because of Kyrie, because of what they was giving up.
Right.
Now, if they was getting Kyrie as a free agent, where they don't have to give up none of them pieces, oh, he
Mm.
would have loved it.
Yeah.
But because of trade, you basically you cutting off both my arms just so you can get somebody. I'm like, yeah, and you saw it, that defense was terrible. I was like, dang.
Yeah. I saw like Charlotte whoop their ass twice. I'm like, no, come on, no, no.
I was like, man, y'all. And then of course Cuban ultimately getting fined what 750,000 for that
Mm.
tanking thing that he did.
Yeah.
So I said, man, y'all just fell all off the map.
I said, if I'm gonna fall out the plane, if I'm gonna jump out the plane, fuck it. I'm going.
Trying to protect that draft pick that was owed to the Nets, but since he lost that game, so I was thinking, I'm like, well, there's really no when he stopped I guess when they started tanking, which was only probably like the last 2-3 games of the season.
It's about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, their record is too. it's too high. It's for to have a chance at the lottery compared to the lower teams in the NBA. But no, they was because they had that unprotected pick with the Nets from that Kyrie trade
Mm.
that they was trying to keep. So they said, go ahead and take these games. We can keep that. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, that was terrible. Like y'all doing, I think they had a chance to get it. They needed help to get in the playoffs, but still,
Mhm.
that whole tank job, like that was a bad look, real bad.
Exactly. They needed help. They even though they was losing games, they were still mathematically in the playoff picture
Mm.
with the help. And then it was like, I remember they had help, and then towards the last two games, Cuban was like, man, the hell with it. Damn the help. Just go ahead. Because Luca played, I think, the first quarter or something in the last game because it was Slovenia night.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to honor Luca. That was the
Yeah.
only reason why he played for that first quarter or whatever, however long he did, and then they just sat him down for the rest of the game.
Right.
Even though they still had a chance to get in the playoff at that time.
Yeah, but still, if you got a shot and you're not that far from the playoffs, go all the way in. If you don't make it, then okay, that's acceptable. But to go out like that,
all for that draft pick. All for
no.
that draft pick.
No. But I remember you mentioned the whole thing about Denver and the Timberwolves. As long as you got that garbage ass, hey man, I think Denver's gonna have it probably like in 5. I think they're gonna have it in 5.
So you giving Minnesota just one at home?
Yeah, one. It'd be a desperation one. Like, you know what? Just a gentleman sweep.
Yeah. The fan base will just pump up the role players. Also,
Yeah.
they look like they're making every shot. They'll live off that one game, and then by the next game, it's back to reality.
Yeah. And then they get their heart stomped out.
Because both Denver and Sacramento, because of obviously where they're located at, Denver for the majority of the season, I think the whole season, I don't think they ever came off the number one seed.
No, they haven't.
And Sacramento, I think, never fell below 3.
Yeah, they shot up to 3 and they stayed there. It was just Memphis was threatening to fall to 3.
Yeah. Because it was for a while. It was Denver, Memphis. I know Phoenix shot up after the KD trade, and then Sacramento was like one of the top 4 seeds majority of the season. But between Sacramento and Denver, only reason Denver was getting attention because Jokic was getting MVP looks.
Yeah.
But as far as the two teams, you don't really see them, especially Sacramento. You don't really. This playoffs is really the first time people are actually seeing Sacramento. They don't get to see that team.
No.
They barely even know anything about their record. Only people who watch basketball knew the whole season. Mike Brown, it was officially stated today that he won the award. We knew Mike Brown should be the Coach of the Year winner.
And he deserved it.
Exactly, yeah. But that was all. You will have to really follow basketball to really just know any of the players on that Kings roster.
Yeah.
Other than that, they don't. Denver is just kind of getting snubbed by the national media. Only the person who was getting attention from Denver was Jokic. The whole Sacramento team was getting snubbed by the national media and everybody.
Yeah.
They don't get no attention. And when you watch it, like, damn, these boys offensively, they can go off. Like once they go off, and they're in that crowd.
Yeah.
Man, it reminded me of Golden State's crowd even though they won the championship last year, during that real juggernaut years.
Yeah.
How basically you go there, it's basically an automatic loss.
Right.
Back in the Oracle. In the Oracle.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. That I guess that's all they have now. That Sacramento, the Kings is all they have. They don't have no pro football team. I believe they don't have no hockey team. It's just the Kings. They give that team all, especially now that they're doing having some success. That crowd, they was just amping up, and I don't know who thought, because I don't remember that light the beam thing in the
Yeah.
past. I don't know who thought of that, but they really grabbed on that and took off with
Well, I think it's been a thing, but it hadn't been lit for a while, so it had no power. But that's the beautiful thing about when you have a team that was deemed as the league's joke. You go in there and you do some reconstruction over the years, and then when as far as starts clicking, you start having a bench, you start having a starting five to have chemistry. Then you have a coach that really gets them going. They coming out the gate whooping ass. Like Mike Brown said, we don't give a fuck about what they talking about. We over here.
Which goes on, like, even though I'm in the DFW area, I'm a Rockets fan, and you trying to see, since they, after the Harden era, they wiped the slate clean, but you have them just falling on, they haven't really done anything. Look, they always just constantly trying to be a lottery team.
Right.
You got Detroit. You have all these other teams in the NBA that was basically no different than Sacramento.
Right.
And you like, man, Sacramento for the longest, man, it's their first time in the playoffs since what? The 2000s?
2000, I want to say 8. 6 or 8. I know it's been like about 17 years.
Yeah, and some teams in the NBA also had a drought like that.
Yeah.
But they still looking the same today like they did 10 years ago. I'm like, why y'all can't get, find some type of success like Sacramento is experiencing right now? But I don't know. But I'm glad they're getting their chance to shine.
Yeah.
And I can say finally get a chance to light that beam. That beam just sitting there just collecting dust. Now they finally get to, push that button, light light it up, and everybody can see it.
Yeah, that's the thing about if you change the culture and you get not just the fans, but the whole collective on point, it'll force to be recognized. Now you can sit there, have a crowd that has an identity of its own. So when you go in there, you know you're at a away game. You got to earn everything. And plus, when they was playing D, like full court D on there, they ate that clock up. So there's not only playing against them, they was fighting against time. So it was smart as hell.
It's actually Golden State was similar. Of course there was the We Believe team that Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson they talk about in 07.
That was something special back then.
Yeah. So they there was that, but then afterwards they was kind of below the radar and all that because when Steph came first, he had all them ankle injuries.
Yeah.
But once they started going up again, that's when the crowd basically started looking just like how it is in Sacramento, and they've been riding that wave ever since. So who knows? Maybe Sacktown they may have something similar if it depends on see how far they can go in this playoffs.
Yeah,
that'd be a very interesting story that because Memphis was kind of like that last year.
Yeah,
but I just don't. They was like that last year. Their crowd was really creating a real big home court advantage.
Yeah.
And small market teams basically, since y'all don't give us no attention, we gonna give ourselves. We gonna get loud. We gonna force y'all to look over here. And I always give those towns props because you just always hear so much about these big market teams, stars leaving the small markets to go to these big markets so you can get on this big stage per se and all that. And the media, that's all they focus on is big market squads. But then when these smaller squads, market teams start shining, they create this home court advantage that is just bigger.
Yeah.
They just get all amped up. So.
Hey, you said it earlier. What do you think about the Knicks Cavs? How's it gonna look?
I like that series. I still believe the Cavs. I'm gonna say Cavs in 7, really, because that series gonna go back and forth.
Oh yeah.
I like watching First Take, so I'm always hearing Stephen A. Smith how he always amping up his Knicks. And one thing he made clear was because the whole thing in the offseason when Donovan Mitchell possibly had a chance to go to New York. And, they was really looking forward for him to get in there. And all of a sudden, because ultimately the Knicks wanted to keep
What, Barrett?
Barrett.
Yeah.
That was the key piece. They was like, no, we don't want to let go of Barrett. So they didn't get Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right now, Barrett is pretty much not doing much of anything in this series.
Right.
Donovan Mitchell is being Donovan Mitchell. And really, because of game one, Donovan Mitchell went off game one, but Jalen Brunson came up big in the clutch moments.
Yeah.
So Jalen Brunson saved them in game one because Donovan Mitchell was doing his Donovan Mitchell things in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then, of course, yesterday, Garland showed up, and then, that's what led them to just blow him out.
Yeah.
But I still think because, look, I think New York is going to have a nice advantage at home. That crowd going to be amped up, and it's going to be interesting to see. I can see New York taking game 3, but then I could turn around and see Cleveland taking game 4.
Yeah. Yeah, because they'll be amped up to go home and try to really put the squeeze on them. So I can see that.
And then what's the Suns and Clippers series. I look at the Clippers like a dark horse because they're doing all this without Paul George, and I don't think he's going to be available this series. But they still Westbrook.
I don't even recognize him.
I mean, he's still doing his, I want to say, volume shooting type thing, and sometimes it could be a low percentage. But defensively, this dude doing all these come from behind, blocks and whatnot, and every time you see any type of loose ball or offensive rebounds, he is showing like, okay, maybe you're not your percentage scoring, even though I think he scored like 20, somewhere in the mid-20s yesterday.
Yeah.
You made, game one, he didn't have the best scoring night, but both games, this dude on the offensive glass, he blocking Durant from behind. I'm like, man, this dude is just everywhere.
Yeah.
He definitely has something to prove.
I think he's like learn how to use his energy effectively. But if they have Paul George in there, I think they'd be up 2-0.
Let me see. I missed all these comments. I want to give a quick shout out to them real quick.
All right.
What's up, JG? Appreciate all y'all for listening in. Trey, you got Cat Student 1. Marcus, what's up, man? Heard from you in a while. Andre, appreciate you for shouting out the weekly shout outs that you do. Then got Mr. Bennett.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I've been liking it. Then of course you see the clip. I don't know if that dude was saying Westbrook to him again or something. I was like, dude, okay, everybody. And I think Phoenix started doing a chant last night saying Westbrook. So I was like, dude, I know that must have been pissing you off because you just hate people when they say that to you. You always want to confront them. But Westbrook. It's like every year you're gonna see him about have like three occurrences where he going after a fan. It's just clockwork with that dude.
Oh, it goes something great. I mean, they think they want him out of here because they want him to give the Suns a chance. Because if I don't think if Westbrook was doing what he was doing, I think the Clippers be down 0-2. Even though Kawhi is doing his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone has to step up in Paul George's absence. But I think if they had George and the other guys clicking and stuff like that, they'd be up 2-0, in my opinion.
George. So right now, because with Phoenix, once Booker started cooking in that mid range, it was.
Yeah, it was over.
Because they brought up a good point that with KD on the squad, you see the Clippers doubling KD. And he'll swing that ball around. Ultimately, he'll find a Booker.
Mm-hmm.
And all he did, especially when he was at the 3-point line,
Yeah.
he'll like give like a pump fake or something, have that defender go by him, work his way right there in that mid range, just killing them,
Yeah.
killing them. And that's their zone. Him and KD, hell, even Chris Paul, they will kill you in that mid range game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing about with Paul George being out, because you have Kawhi, who's going to be Kawhi.
Yeah.
Westbrook is just, he's a hit and miss. But if Paul George was there, you basically be like Kawhi, KD, Paul George, Booker, Westbrook, CP3. They would just cancel each other out. I think they just go blow for blow.
And then your bench had to step in and show a groove. So, yeah.
And I would give the bench edge to the Clippers.
Yeah. I think they said they got the deepest bench, or one of the deepest benches in the league. So I mean, like, I think whoever comes out of the series, I think they are more likely to represent the Western Conference. I agree with what they said. Yeah.
Because if Clippers they make it out of this series, they should be getting Paul George back for the next one. So now, whatever the Clippers team you saw versus the Suns, who many believe was going to be representing the West in the finals, you're going to see a better Clippers team, because one of their better players will be back on the court.
And he'll be rested, and it's going to be an issue. I think that's what they're playing for now, like, to get him out there, because, hey.
That is a dark horse team. That is a dark horse team with them Clippers. And I always felt like that during the year, but they can just never stay healthy. The whole time it was always Kawhi off, and then as soon as Kawhi get back, they go George. He off now. They just keep flip flopping who's going to be available, who's not.
So I was wondering with the chat, and say you included, what would y'all trade Rudy Gobert for?
You talking about with the Timberwolves, or back when he was traded from the Jazz?
I'm talking about right now.
Hell, man. I know when the Timberwolves traded for him, they gave up a huge boatload for him.
Yeah,
I don't know. See, because Gobert reminds me of when the game changed from underneath Dwight Howard. But Gobert was never the offensive player that Dwight was in his prime.
Yeah.
He's basically been a defensive player since from the get-go. But people forget Dwight was that dude in Orlando.
Yeah.
And then when he traded to LA, of course he had the back injury. And it really started when he ultimately got to Houston.
Yeah.
And he, that's when you saw the league really start transforming, because he was trying to see, hey, can you get me more involved? And Harden, Houston was just different. But you just saw the game going away from Howard, and it was no longer a center-oriented game. So he had to literally change his whole mindset. It took him a while to do, from just being a focal point on the offensive side to basically just what you see centers today, besides Jokic and Embiid. All they really do today is just like Jared Allen for the Cavs. You just be in the paint, be a defensive presence, run up and down the court, and get rebounds and get the occasional alley-oops. That's basically what Gobert has been. He has some offensive flashes here and there, but that's basically what Gobert has been his whole career. And now he can guard the paint, but because he's not an offensive focal point, that's why I don't understand how Utah, that's Danny Ainge, was able to get all those picks for him. Now I don't think the way Minnesota basically got duped into trading all those picks to get Gobert. If Minnesota traded Gobert, I don't think they're gonna be able to get the same in exchange. The future team be like, nah, we not like y'all. We'll give y'all one pick for this dude. Y'all gave up potentially five players and picks for Gobert. They gave up a boatload for him.
They gave up a lot. I looked at that and like, this gotta be a joke.
And that was because you remember back in the off season when they were trying to trade when KD was asking for a trade before the season started. The Nets was looking at that Gobert deal. They said, okay, if this dude can get this type of return back, we want this type of return back as well for Durant. But teams were like, nah, man, we can't. It was just too much because Durant's injuries and stuff like that. It's like, nah, we can't get Durant.
Well, his injury prone. But you're not gonna get a solid return on your investment because you got to gut basically your bench or even your
Exactly.
starting core to get one guy.
Exactly.
No, hell no.
So Timberwolves, y'all would have done this in that trade. Y'all the one who sacrificed everything for Gobert. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to trade him. You're not going to get back what you let go when you got him. So I don't know what I would trade him for. Maybe a second round pick. Now, if he's willing to be just a defensive stalwart, and you got the offensive side is taken care of, yeah, I'll make that trade. Then you don't have to worry about your paint. But yeah, he can't be thinking like, hey, I want to be more offensively involved. Nah, Doc, you just get in that paint and just guard the paint. You get occasional alley oop here and there, but and if I was him, because I believe he got his money. So if he wants to be that type of player, yeah, it has to be traded to a better contender than. Because I don't think Minnesota gonna do anything anytime soon. Even though I like Anthony Edwards, I just don't. I don't think they're gonna be that team. That's what's gonna be challenged. Because I don't know. Cat is a good player, but it's a guard-oriented league. I don't know. It's just Minnesota just always seems like they're missing a piece for whatever reason. They're just always missing a piece. You said Marcus said Jalen got that money. Oh well, since he brought it up, yeah, let's go ahead and segue over to the NFL.
Hey.
So let me pull them up. The new contract that Jalen Hurts received, and I'm glad he got his money. Now, me personally, I always knew that Deshaun Watson's guaranteed contract, that's an outlier. You can't that wasn't really a market setter. That's why the owners were so pissed off about the Haslam's giving him that type of money guaranteed. The contract I was always looking at that basically reflected the market was Kyler Murray's. And in today's NFL, it's always about the guaranteed dollars, guaranteed. And Murray was getting 189 guaranteed, and then when it all came out, Jalen Hurts got 179. But so I thought he should have been aiming higher to get at least more than Kyler Murray. But what they focus on with him, Jalen Hurts is getting the most money in NFL history in a year with that 51 million. Cause I think Aaron Rodgers got 50, so Hurts got 51. And the biggest thing about Hurts, let me see, I forgot her name. He has, I believe she's the first African American female agent in the NFL, Nicole Lynn.
Yeah.
And I know during the whole negotiation, many in the black community was really pushing her on because they wanted her to get the most money for Hurts. Basically, I'm trying to see. So he wanted Nicole to get the big contract because there was a lot of eyes on Jalen Hurts and his upcoming contract. And they wanted to see because she was the first, can she negotiate this huge contract and be just a big trailblazer for African American women in the future compared to normally an industry that's predominantly white males.
Yeah.
And how will she hold up? It sucks that you kind of comparing her work with Hurts compared to her male counterparts and the agents and all these super agents.
Mm-hmm.
But I give her props. Like I say, I still think they should have got more than Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray got other stuff going on with Arizona, and it's complete opposite in Philly.
Yeah.
The way they rally behind Hurts, it's literally the complete opposite in Arizona. Like they said, a lot of them don't even like the dude.
No, they don't. You could tell.
Yeah, and they was having a hard time getting the head coach because they didn't want to coach the dude.
Yeah.
And you got to having these clauses, which they ultimately took out because the dude focused so much on playing video games. You never heard anything about that about Jalen Hurts. Only thing about Jalen Hurts, you just wonder, okay, can he make the step to lead? Because before this season, last season, it was questions about him being that guy,
Mm-hmm.
and then he ultimately led his team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they almost went undefeated, except them games he was hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And they almost got beat by the Colts because I saw that game. So
yeah. And as they say, it's any given Sunday, and I think they really had a chance to. Jalen Hurts did his thing in the Super Bowl. You can look at that thing. You can say everybody else. Maybe you could point a finger of who lost this and why the Eagles lost that. But one finger you can't point at to is Jalen Hurts.
no.
I said that he outplayed Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And I still think the Eagles got cheated by the Commanders, but that's just me. And I'm a Niners fan, so I just saw that. Like, wait, all right.
I think even with that, the Eagles got lucky even kind of getting to the Super Bowl just because that NFC Championship game. I mean, you literally just beat a team with no quarterback.
Basically, so.
And you have Andre over here. He was quick to call us after that NFC title game, but we still haven't heard from that dude after the Super Bowl. So I don't know what happened to him, but he called up, and he was Eagles after the 49ers victory. But I remember when I was talking with him, I was like, yeah, but I can't remember a team losing all four of their quarterbacks.
Yeah, that year. I mean, I guess we got snake bit in the championship. So I mean, like it's cool. Like, things happen. That's part of the game. So, but you think about too with the you say you should have got more, but when you got the city basically behind you, you're gonna get your money back.
Oh yeah.
So they're gonna make sure they're gonna push for that. So it's cool. He got what he got now, but I think they're gonna push the envelope when the contract time comes around, especially if he takes him to another Super Bowl or two.
And I believe Hurts, he had to agree to the contract. So with him, I know that's just me saying I thought his contract should have been, even if it's a dollar more than Murray's. But with Hurts, he probably said, man, I don't, and I wouldn't be surprised because he's you hear about his leadership and all that. I wouldn't be surprised he said, that's not my focus as far as being. I just want to get paid what I'm worth. Pay me what I'm worth. I'm not trying to get paid. Focus on, this dude's dollar amount, this dude's dollar amount, and like you say, he can go. He pretty much reached the status in Philly.
Yeah.
He can walk anywhere.
Well,
They'll recognize him. That's Hurts. Whatever he want in that thing, give him for free.
And you think about it too, it's like this is why I tell people not to start pocket watching. I know, especially when you're doing a contract deal. Kyler Murray shit, that lets you know that's a franchise that's in trouble right now because they put a lot of money into a shitbird. So now you're sitting there, you're trying to juggle things, and you're gonna get some substandard pieces. But I think what Jalen was thinking about, if I can get the right pieces to get us over the hump in the Super Bowl, cool. Let me do what I need to do because I'm cool here, but let me make sure my guys eat. That's another part of leadership too, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the only thing. Because, you hear a lot now in the NFL today about a lot of these teams that are currently experiencing these success. Besides the Chiefs, they're an outlier because of the quarterback that they have.
Of course.
A lot of the other teams who are experiencing the success, not necessarily getting all the way to the Super Bowl, just having the more successful seasons, are the teams with quarterbacks on rookie deals because
Jacksonville.
they can put more on other positions to truly give them the support and the team and just have them,
Yeah.
just have all type of success in the season. And that's what I was curious about with Hurts, knowing that he was about to get this bigger contract. What type of sacrifices or will that roster have? Now the Eagles have lost some pieces this
Yeah.
offseason, so it's like okay. And you saw the same thing with the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, even though Dak Prescott was not looked at when he got his contract.
Right.
Everybody's praising Hurts for his contract, like well deserved. Dak at the time was like, how is he getting this much money? How is he getting this much money? Even though it was the market determining both QB's contracts.
Yeah.
But with Dak, he made, I think their best performance was his rookie season when they had that magical run, and then of course the Aaron Rodgers with the infamous throw that he had to
Yeah.
Jared Cooks.
Yeah.
And then when he got his contract, that's when you start seeing, pieces leave and whatnot. But in the NFL, you can have your contracts, and I'm seeing it right now with the Cowboys. They will restructure that thing in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, I guess, you can have your money. I guess that's why the players fight so much for it's guaranteed. Because when it all comes down to it, because you see the Chiefs and Mr. Bennett, what's up, man?
How you guys doing? Good evening.
Good man. How you doing?
I
We
am
just talking
well.
about these the new contract that Jalen Hurts received, and I was just bringing up the point how before he got the contract, knowing that it was coming down the pike that he was getting this big money, what type
Right.
of impact would it have, a ripple effect to the Eagles roster? Because I saw that when Dak got his contract and a ripple effect, but then also when the NFL, yeah, I think it's made a whole lot. I think it's really focused a lot on these quarterbacks' money that they get, but you see it every offseason. Once the offseason comes, you see the NFL, the GMs of these respective teams, they see all these players getting their contracts are getting restructured. So they just constantly kick the can down the road. So yeah, a player can get his money. And it may look like initially, okay, this team may have to sacrifice some pieces, but they just do what every team does, and they just kick the can down the road, restructure this contract, restructure that contract, make room for this player. So I'm glad he got paid. I'm glad. Now
Oh,
with
absolutely.
Lamar, the ripple effect towards Lamar, that's a whole different ball game with him.
That's tough. How do you guys think about his strategy not to go with an agent and to work with his mom or whatnot? Do you think that um, long term is that a winning strategy to try to keep everything in house? I know there've been a few players just in history who've been able to do that, but is that a winning strategy just going forward? I think he was trying to do something different, but it's just not proving to be good, because I think that where a lot of these agents, where a lot of these deals are made and are in places not having nothing to do with the corporate headquarters of the team. It's at the coaches meetings, it's at the owners meetings, it's at the combines and whatnot. And I don't know if his mom is getting around to making those rounds in order to just kind of get a vibe of what the other 31 teams in the NFL are doing. And is this his approach? Is he going to look back on this and say, man, this is the wrong decision to make? Or do you still give him props for standing by his principles and not going to an agent? I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Again, props for standing on his principle. That's why I'm on that.
Gotcha.
So like you mentioned, like there have DeAndre Hopkins. I forgot the other player. There's been players who successfully is able to negotiate contracts without an agent, but the difference is he is a quarterback and he's looking to get that quarterback money.
Right.
So the other players they were negotiating contracts that was within the realm of their positions' respective markets. So it wasn't out the ordinary. They was able to do. They could basically just go back for Hopkins, for example, his talent on the field he can just go back to that and whatnot. With Lamar, and like I brought the point earlier, you got Deshaun Watson's contract is an outlier,
Mm-hmm.
and it don't reflect the market. Kyler
Right.
Murray's contract more reflects the market, but Lamar, and I think I just saw something today. Adam Schefter said Lamar actually turned down a $200 million proposed offer. So I'm like, I think Lamar's probably looking at that Watson money.
Mm-hmm.
So he look
Well, yeah,
at,
I think he's mentioned that. He's mentioned
yeah,
the idea that he you trying to use him as the new baseline. But like you said, if he's the outlier, then that changes. But now, given that Hurts has now set the market, again, is he going to continue to be the outlier, or is he going to be the standard bearer? So,
Lamar I look at it as a perfect storm. So
mm-hmm.
you have the factor about without an agent, which works on the part because I forgot one ESPN insider. They termed it as he's going against the machine
Mm-hmm.
because with him not having an agent going after this huge money, other agents don't really want that to happen. Because if he
Right.
gets this type of big contract without an agent,
Right. That's a
he'll
good
be
point.
looking at other players. Hey, I
That's
can
a
get
good
this type
point.
of money too, and they see the agents are scared that they're not going to have any, players will be able to negotiate their own contracts.
Right.
That's one factor. You have the injury factor. You got the I forgot what is the Falcons owner name? Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank, I think.
Yeah, he brought up the point about Lamar's injury history, which
Mm-hmm.
also that comes a factor. So you have that mixed in with it. So you have the no agent, his injuries. For whatever reason, people just still question his skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's an
Well, I'm
elite
not sure.
runner.
I don't know if it's so much the skill set. I think you have to look at his playoff record.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
I mean
Even regular season record
that's
is
the
great.
thing. I mean, if he got the Ravens to a Super Bowl, even he didn't have to win it. I mean, I think if he would have got them there, similar to what Jalen Hurts did, I think this wouldn't be a conversation. But people are worried when you only have one playoff win. Are you that guy? Like I think the Minnesota Vikings, they might be questioning, going with paying Kirk Cousins that kind of money because again, he's good. He'll put up decent numbers in the regular season, but when it comes in the playoffs, he's not oftentimes the same player. He had that one playoff win in his career, and people were saying, okay, but he got the monkey off his back, and then you saw last year he kind of regressed again. So it's it's tough when you're talking about that kind of money. Does the guy show that if you put the right team around him, can he take his game to the next level? I mean, Dallas is showing that now with Dak Prescott. I mean, he seems to shrink in the playoff, in the playoffs. So again, that's something that I don't think is tied to skill. I don't know, it's just mindset or some guys are just not made for that moment. As good as Michael Vick was, come playoff time, again, a lot of times he was shrinking in that moment. He couldn't be that guy where he would have the video game highlights during the regular season, but have you ever seen a playoff game where he actually balled like that? Even his comeback with the Eagles. I mean, he had a spectacular season when he came back with the Eagles, but when they met the Packers in the playoffs again, he couldn't meet the moment.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know why he. I know you hear a lot of people saying that because the Ravens never got him a legit number one.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like they wasn't trying though. They drafted receivers. It looked like they don't know how to draft receivers. they just couldn't plan out. And also, if you're looking at those number one receivers, and I think I mentioned this last week, the number one receivers who happen to be on the free agent market, they looking to get paid too. And if you go to Baltimore, your numbers are not going to reflect.
I think that's and I think that definitely factors into why that's not a desirable place to play when you have a quarterback like that. And again, think of all of these, throughout history, these mobile guys, how many of them had like a legit number one wide receiver? If you're going to be handling the ball, half the offense, and then you got a running game as well, then yeah, you're not going to get those touches the way you want to. So it's feast famine. You're going to get a lot of spectacular plays. It's going to generate a lot of excitement, but is it good for the team? All the way around, it's hit or miss. But we still haven't seen. I mean, Russell Wilson might be the closest guy I can think of who kind of had that kind of game management run when you can kind of style and was able to win. But he had a dominating defense with the Legion of Boom. So you didn't have to do much more than just manage the game. But if you need somebody to actually go out there and win it, that is the difference. I mean, but I think Jalen Hurts is that guy. I think had he was able to get one more possession in that Super Bowl, I mean, it was going to boil down to who got the ball last, really.
Right.
But you could just tell that just his whole demeanor in the game, even when he had that one turnover in the game, he was just like not flooded. He's just like, all right, we'll get it back. And so you could tell he just has that quality that he's not gonna shrink in the moment. And I think that's really what he's getting paid on, because literally it was just a year ago that people were doubting him.
Exactly.
And he was able to turn it around. So again, how just one performance in the biggest game, even in a loss, did enough to sell the Eagles on, okay, he's that guy. And if you can show that you're that guy, then yeah, they'll open up the checkbook for you. But Lamar hasn't proven that yet.
All right.
And that's an issue.
I agree.
And I give the Eagles front office much props, because when those same questions that was asked about Jalen Hurts at the beginning of last season, even with those same questions in the midst, Philly still said, okay, we want to see if you can lead this ship, so we about to give you your weapons. That's when they're going to make the big trade for A.J. Brown. They had a huge draft pick with Devontae Smith. You start seeing them getting the running backs. You start saying he already had his tight end with Dallas Goedert. You just start seeing them putting the pieces in.
Yeah.
So basically, like, okay, they gave him a true, I want to say test, but that's basically what they did.
Right.
They say they gave him the pieces to truly see what he can do with it.
Right.
Instead of just putting him out there and, okay, so what you got, but you still not giving him no pieces to. If he's struggling without those pieces, and you still trying to see if he can improve, but you don't improve his pieces, you may see him struggling again.
Yeah.
Philly said, we're going to give you the pieces, and you saw a completely different quarterback.
Yeah.
He can get you with the run game, and then him and A.J. Brown was just killing boys.
Absolutely. And just the offense, I mean, I've never seen how many 4th and 1 or 4th and short plays where they just give the ball to him. He's just getting first downs. It's like somebody's going to have to scheme for that next year, because if you don't, that's going to change the league. That's going to change, everything if that keeps going on. But I mean, Kansas City, they just could not stop it. Anytime they kind of went for it on 4th and short, they were just able to push the line and get that first down. So again, that's a problem, which if they don't, teams don't figure it out, then we can very easily see a repeat next year.
Yeah, I mean, him getting those 4th and 1s, that'll cut down the morale of your defense, because now they're getting winded. Now it's like, okay, here this motherfucker.
Which is
out his ass,
Exactly. Which for the Eagles, I mean, that was to me the biggest disappointment from that game, is that they came in with that quote unquote vaunted defense, but they just could not get Casey off the field. One turnover or one big play could have been the game, but they just could not get those guys off. So
and what hurts, that is what you envision a dual threat quarterback.
Right.
You got a quarterback, like I say, when the 4th and 1 or 4th and short, he can get it with his legs. Even if it's 3rd and long, he can get you with his arm. He's a legit dual threat. Like it's like he'll just give defense nightmares.
Right.
But Mr. Bill, before you came on, I brought up the point about Hurts surrounding pieces, mainly his agents, and also his whole team of women that he has,
Mm-hmm.
but really his with his agent Nicole Lynn. And I don't know if you would noticed it how during the season when Hurts pending contract was being spoken about, and it came known that Nicole Lynn, the first African American female agent, is the one who will be leading these contract negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
How the rest of the NFL is going to be like, especially the agents or whoever, will be really looking at this because unfortunately they will be comparing her results to her counterparts who are traditionally white male in that
Right.
whole super agent field.
Right.
And because it was like, okay, you see the season that Jalen Hurts put together, so this is a perfect time to capitalize on him getting this huge contract.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't going to be as big as many people was expecting it to be, then it would have led some kind of, I would assume, some kind of negative, questionable connotation going towards the agent.
Right.
Like she's kind of out, and it's kind of, thankfully she was able to do what she doing and got him the money. It's almost kind of the same thing with Lamar, with his no agent but his mom.
Right.
But the difference is Nicole Lynn is an agent. She
Right.
knows how to speak that language. When
Well,
it
it's
comes
beyond
to
that. I mean, she has an agent. She has Clutch Sports behind her. She has the resources
exactly.
to again, I mean, to go to those meetings, to go to the owner meetings, to go to the combines, to go to the, really, when you have an infrastructure around you, I think when it comes to, especially when you bidding for contracts that high, all those things become more important. Even for your talent is not enough sometimes. So that's like the extra. That's like, you have you have the athlete, if you will. But again, the jockey, like I said, if this was a horse race, and again, don't beat me up for comparing. But if you got Secretariat or whatever, you got the wrong jockey, it's like you're not going to get the most out of it. So I mean, Jalen had to perform and he had to do the things that he did.
Yeah.
But when you have an like I said, an infrastructure that's going to give you those additional resources and the research and the analytics, again, is his mom really has access to those things at her disposal where she can call these things up, that she has the researchers, people are going to go in and do that dirty work on a regular basis. I mean, that can be the difference, to the tune of tens of tens of millions of dollars, which again, that's why I posed the question. Like I said, I salute the effort. But again, I think that, and even if he does get a contract, I think certainly what this woman did for Clutch Sports, I think is groundbreaking. I think in a lot of ways, because and there have been other agents. I think there's one agent, I forget her name. She represented who was that running back for the Dolphins, and then he went to the Saints. He was got thrown out the league for smoking weed.
I can't remember the name though.
Yeah.
Williams.
But his agent, and she got a few people. She's in jail right now, for stealing monies and whatnot. But for this kind of achievement, for a woman to do this and to show women that you can make money in ways where you don't have to sell your body, where you don't have to, just in other ways to make money. I mean, she's definitely setting a precedent, which I think a lot of women can follow. I mean, for those, talk about really doing business and what that looks like, that she can certainly be an inspiration. And at the end of the day, what she's doing is she's driving bottom line, which for a lot of folks I see it, like I'm a part of a lot of DE&I initiatives and whatnot. And it's like, it's one thing to put people in certain places and whatnot, but are you putting them in places where you're actually driving the result? And the fact that she's showing that she can generate that kind of money is definitely not only going to be good for her, but I think it's going to inspire a lot of women who, if you want to get into that industry, to really look at her as a resource to say, okay, how what's the blueprint in order to make these things happen? But obviously having Clutch, again, starting with a few guys from Akron, and what they've been able to build. I mean, LeBron as a businessman, as a model, just in general. I mean, that's like the dream. I mean, how many of us thought about when we were young, being able to do the kind of business we're doing with our boys that we grew up with, and say, yeah, we're going to do this, whatever. But those guys actually did it. So just salute to those guys for putting together an apparatus that has also led to even the sisters being able to eat from their efforts as well. So it's like a lot of what LeBron touches just kind of turns to gold, And I don't know if you guys had this conversation earlier, but Lakers, they may go on a run. I mean, I could definitely see them being in the finals mix right now. I think they have some depth on their roster, and guys are just really stepping up and playing. So, don't be surprised if LeBron, put it this way, if LeBron does get to another final, if not win one, he's in the GOAT conversation. I'm sorry. If he's not there already, I mean, I know the Jordanites are, we're going to fight that, but I mean, come on. I mean, if he gets another one, then,
Mr. Ben,
I'm going to have to put him up there.
I'm there. I agree with you on that because, like, a lot of Jordanites did not grow up watching Jordan. To be honest, they didn't see him struggle in them years before he started getting those.
Yep,
that was a conversation. That Bulls franchise was ass.
Yeah, very much so.
They thought he came out the womb with 6 rings. Like, dude, business history is not healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was debating. Looked like we probably don't have like a couple of minutes left. So I was debating with forgot who on the internet, and I mean, we had a show, just a whole show dedicated to the whole LeBron. Jordan
yeah, I remember
debate.
that. I remember
and
that.
I'm when it comes to greatness, I say Jordan is the greatest. But when it comes to skill set, I think of course LeBron has a better skill set because he has a more total game to it. But I was mentioning, because with the whole Washington Commanders thing going on, and I don't know if they officially sold the team, but the people who was reported by buying it was a group where Magic Johnson is a part of.
Yeah.
So I was asking, who you think is a better businessman between Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan? And I personally said Magic, because I think he has a wider portfolio as far as, I believe Magic was like involved in real estate, like commercial real estate.
Especially in New York area.
Exactly, it's just more. It's more broad.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan's thing is predominantly in the sports industry. And
right.
He has great success in that. Obviously he's an NBA owner. If he sells that team, who knows how much money he'll make? But just they both
not much. I mean, I can't see. I mean. The team is not valued very high. I mean, it's been run so poorly. I mean, how much could he possibly get, if anything? I mean, sell it at a discount to get out, because, and again, I love the idea. I mean, he's the only black owner in the NBA, really, at least majority stake owner. So you would love to see that happen, but he's been so inept. I'll just say that as an owner.
That's what I'm gonna say. Like, he is awesome on the court, but he is the Washington Generals when it comes to ownership.
Yeah. So I mean, just all the moves, the draft picks, the meddling. I mean, it's just not working. I mean, so again, I'm definitely, he definitely makes the case that just because you are doesn't mean you should. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that is something that you really have to. So I hope, just as much as the Commanders get sold, I hope the Wizards get sold, and put in the hands of some guys who really are competent at running franchises. The last time he had any kind of success is when he had Hubie Brown as his coach, and that didn't. Hubie was already 80 years old at that point, so he was only going to go so far.
What they say as of 2020 to the 2021-22 season, the Hornets' worth was $1.7 billion. So now I think if he'll sell it, it'll be at least $2 billion. Still below, which is
still relatively low.
Relative to
other franchises.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He hasn't done enough to value it. Quite frankly, the Commanders haven't done so either. But you're in such a rich market, that DC metro area, that in and of itself is going to increase the value of the team. Just just being there is enough. But Charlotte, or whatever, I don't know if that's enough to to warrant that kind of valuation.
And the thing with the Commanders, you're looking at the prior history too when they were the Redskins, so that's what you're buying.
True that too. Yeah.
But
before you guys wrap up,
gonna do a whole lot.
Yeah. Before you guys wrap up, if I could just do a quick pivot. As you know, I'm a huge boxing fan, and so this weekend is going to start the beginning of, I think, a major renaissance in boxing. So this weekend you have Gervonta Tank Davis taking on Ryan Garcia in a welterweight. It's not a title match, but you're talking about two of the most popular fighters at 135, and that's going to be a domino of events that's going to be happening. You also have another lightweight Showtime. Lomachenko is going to be fighting Devin Haney. And then the winner of that either can fight the winner of the Tank fight, but then you also have Shakur Stevenson, also at 135, who he just moved up to 135. So he's waiting in the wings. So we're looking at, just like back in the 80s, I go back that far. I remember the Four Kings era when you had Duran, and Leonard and Hagler and Tommy Hearns. We could very well be entering that era again, because all these are just lined up. The only thing that the promoters need to do is just don't screw it up. But this is the kind of renaissance that you can have in boxing. And then later in the year, you could be potentially talking about, even though they're not champions, Deontay Wilder fighting AJ from the UK. So on the heavyweight end, so you got a lot of excitement going on in boxing right now. Not to mention the women fighters and whatnot, who bring some things to the table. So I'm just saying, for everybody, for all those guys who are such into MMA, I think boxing, hopefully we're going to a new era where we can get the fights that we finally want, with guys fighting in their primes and some good stuff that's worth the pay-per-view and not finding the illegal shrink. So I'm just hoping that we can, we can have this renaissance in boxing. I've been looking for this for a while, but it looks like the stars are lining up where you can have, at least this year, we can have a great suite of fights starting this weekend. So, definitely, I'll definitely be watching Tank and Garcia get down, and we'll see what happens after that. So I'm very excited about it.
Oh yeah, be on the lookout for Frank Martin, that family. So
okay, all right, sounds good.
All right. So Ronnie, do you have anything to get off your chest before we close out?
I agree, Mr. Bennett. I mean, it's gonna be it's looking like it's a new era of boxing, which is about damn time.
Yeah.
But definitely, as far as with definitely different genres of sport, I think there's a changing of the guard in every respective area. So I'm enjoying the transformation right now, personally. So, but it's good to have these conversations with sports and everything, because it's real relaxing.
Indeed. Yes, did you guys talk about Draymond? Is he done in your eyes with Golden State? Is he done? I think the Warriors are definitely done this year, but is he done? Given everything, even at the start of the season, is he gone? Will he be on the 2023-24 roster next year?
If they get rid of Draymond, they will not be the same Warriors.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like you're giving away your heart.
Yeah.
But
I'm asking, has the heart though given out? Is he too little worth the risk at this point in his career? He's not that young. He's like 33, 34. So he's not that old, but given everything that happened, and with this latest that happened, should they get eliminated in the opening round, is he worth bringing back? Do you rebuild? And I get it. He's definitely one of the anchors and pillars of this reign that they've had, no question.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm asking, if you're Latham, do you make the move and cut him?
Me personally, I keep Draymond. He's just too important to the franchise, and he's Kerr does a masterful job of working with his personality. The whole front office dude. He's loved by his teammates. Of course, he had to pull his for the season, but Clay and Steph love the dude.
Right. And I got to throw another caveat in here. Not only do you keep him, do you pay him? Because he is up for money. He's looking for
the money. Now the money. That's always. I will say yes. I will say yes, just because you basically got to go like this. Yes, you have Steph. Yes, you have Clay. If you want to keep it in your championship window, re-sign Draymond.
Okay, so you're all in.
Because he, I mean, has much attention as Steph and Clay gets, but they are nothing. When we're going to see how they are, just a snippet of how they're going to respond without him in Game 3.
Right.
But that dude is just, my goodness. I mean, he is. Man, he's
It's arguably the most unique situation I've ever seen, certainly in basketball.
Yeah.
When you have a guy, because I really think he wouldn't be that important on any other team. I just think that's just the perfect
of the right system. Perfect.
Exactly. System. And I can't think of other scenarios where it's just worked like that for another player. So I agree. It makes it very difficult. But you're saying you're going all in, you're going to pay him, and you're going to keep him. How about you, Ronan?
I'd pay him because it's kind of like
it's a championship window. It's a championship window.
I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Thinking about it, it takes me back to when they had the Pistons and the Bulls with Robin. So he couldn't score worth a damn, but that motherfucker would score.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd pay him or give somewhere near that money, but still, yeah. We're gonna see them. We're gonna see shortly how they're gonna work without him. But
gotcha.
we already know.
Right.
So with that, because I know I forgot who's I think it's Mandrell's show coming up right up after ours. Mm-hmm. So I guess with that, we'll make way leave for his show coming up soon. So Ronan, I appreciate you for filling in for Dante. Feel free to come back anytime. Of course, Mr. Bennett, appreciate you for jumping in as always.
No problem.
And everybody who checked us out, we'll see y'all. Oh, and next week we're supposed to be doing our, we do our show on Wednesday. It's the draft. It's next Thursday.
Okay,
so we're supposed to be doing our NFL mock draft.
I'll be there
next week.
Okay.
So feel free to join us, and we'll talk about these incoming draft picks. So until then, we'll see y'all next week.
Take care, guys. Have a great night.
Peace.
You too.